Not every kitchen gadget earns its counter space. Most of them look impressive in the listing, disappoint on delivery, and end up in the back of a drawer within a month. Today's list is different. These are 25 innovative Amazon kitchen gadgets that have actually been proven to work by real buyers, real kitchens, and real daily use that goes well beyond the first week. Prices are on every single find. Links are in the description below, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss a pick. Number 1 is the titanium cutting board set. Plastic cutting boards hold bacteria in the grooves that knife work leaves behind. Wood boards absorb moisture and odors over time, and glass boards dull every knife that touches them, and none of those are problems you want in the surface, where all your food preparation happens. At $60, this set of 3 titanium-coated cutting boards solves all 3 simultaneously with an antibacterial surface that doesn't harbor bacteria in knife marks, a non-porous finish that resists moisture and odor absorption, and a material hardness that won't dull your knives the way glass or ceramic boards always do. The set of 3 means you have a dedicated board for meat, one for produce, and one for everything else, eliminating the cross-contamination risk that using one board for everything creates, and the color-coded or size-differentiated design makes keeping them separate completely automatic, rather than a discipline you have to remember mid-cook. They're dishwasher-safe, lightweight enough to handle comfortably, and durable enough to outlast every plastic board you've ever owned. Once you cook on a surface that genuinely doesn't hold yesterday's garlic smell, going back feels impossible. Number 2 is the Edelhaus spice jars. The spice situation in most kitchens is not an organizational failure, it's an infrastructure failure. Mismatched bottles, half-empty bags, labels you can't read from an angle, and no system for knowing what you have before you discover mid-recipe that you've run out. At $45, this uniform spice jar set with matching labels and an airtight seal fixes the infrastructure rather than just rearranging the chaos. Every jar is the same size, the same shape, and sealed airtight, so spices stay potent significantly longer than they do in the original packaging they came in, which is rarely airtight after the first opening. The matching label system means your spice area finally has a coherent, readable organization that doesn't require picking up every jar to find what you're looking for. The glass construction keeps flavor compounds intact in a way that plastic always slightly compromises, and the uniform profile means the jars stack, line up, and organize on any surface or in any drawer without the visual noise of 20 different bottle shapes competing for the same space. A properly organized spice collection changes how cooking feels, and this is the system that gets you there. Number 3 is the LNNIW warming mat for food. Food goes cold faster than most people expect during a meal, not because the kitchen is cold, but because the plates are, and a warming mat at $40 is the elegant, completely effortless solution to a dining problem most people have been accepting without questioning it. As another kitchen essential for air fryer owners, the mat sits on the dining table or kitchen counter and maintains a consistent, gentle heat that keeps food at serving temperature throughout the entire meal without the overcooking or drying out that reheating always produces. It works for serving dishes, plates, covered pots, and any food vessel that benefits from staying warm between servings, which covers nearly every dinner scenario, from a family meal to a dinner party where dishes are served at different times. The surface is flat and clean enough to work as a serving station rather than an appliance you're working around. The temperature control prevents any surface from getting hot enough to cause damage, and the single plug operation means it's running and ready before the food comes out. Number 4 is the Spring Chef magnetic measuring spoons. Measuring spoons that nest together into a block, separate to individual pieces that are difficult to retrieve, fall into mixing bowls, and clatter together every time you open the drawer. That is the standard measuring spoon experience, and at $12 these magnetic measuring spoons make it clearly unnecessary. The magnetic ends snap the spoons together in a stack when stored, so they stay organized without a ring, a clip, or a separate holder, and pull apart cleanly when you need a specific size without the others coming with it. The dual-sided design gives you both a round end for liquids and a narrow end that fits into spice jars without needing to pour into the spoons separately, which is the one feature that eliminates the single most annoying step in any recipe that requires a precise small measurement. The stainless steel construction is dishwasher safe. The measurements are engraved rather than printed, so they don't wear off after a few months of use, and the set includes every standard size from a quarter teaspoon to a tablespoon. $12 for a measuring spoon set that genuinely works better in every possible way is the kind of value that makes every other upgrade feel expensive by comparison. Number 5 is the IAGREEA Nut Milk Maker Machine. Store-bought plant-based milk is expensive per carton, contains stabilizers and additives that homemade versions don't need, and comes in packaging that accumulates faster than any recycling schedule can realistically handle. At $54, this nut milk maker machine turns almonds, oats, soy, cashews, rice, and other bases into fresh plant-based milk in under 15 minutes with 8 one-touch automatic programs that handle the blending, heating, and processing cycle without any manual monitoring. The 35-ounce capacity makes it easy to prepare plenty of fresh plant-based milk in one go. The automatic heat preservation function keeps the milk warm for up to 2 hours without reheating, and the self-cleaning cycle adds water after use and runs an 11-minute rinse cycle, so cleaning the machine requires nothing more than pressing a button. The cost per batch breakdown compared to store-bought plant milk is significant enough that the machine pays for itself within the first few months for anyone who consumes plant-based milk regularly, and the quality difference between fresh-made and carton milk is immediately noticeable in both taste and texture. Number 6 is the GoodCook Everyday Nonstick Steel. The performance gap between a nonstick pan that costs $20 and one that costs $100 is real, but the performance gap between a $20 pan from a brand that actually understands nonstick coating and a $20 pan from a brand that doesn't is just as significant and far less discussed. At $21, this nonstick steel pan from a cookware brand with a serious track record delivers a cooking surface that releases eggs, fish, and delicate proteins cleanly without sticking, holds heat evenly across the entire cooking surface rather than developing hot spots that burn one part of the food while the rest remains undercooked, and cleans with a wipe rather than the soaking and scrubbing that poor nonstick always eventually requires. The steel construction is oven-safe to temperatures that most non-stick alternatives cannot handle. The ergonomic handle stays cool during stovetop use, and the coating is reinforced to handle more consistent daily use before it begins to degrade than the budget non-stick alternatives that look identical in a product listing but perform very differently in an actual kitchen. Number 7 is the Quatish Unbreakable Plates and Bowls Sets. Ceramic plates and glass bowls are the default choice in most kitchens because that's always been the default, and the default breaks, chips, and sends people to the floor with a shattered piece at least once a year in every household. At $25 for a complete set, these unbreakable plates and bowls are made from BPA-free Tritan material that handles drops, dishwashers, microwaves, and the general physical abuse of daily household use without chipping, cracking, or breaking under any normal condition. The material looks and feels like real ceramic from any normal viewing distance, not the obvious plastic of cheap alternatives that make every meal feel like a picnic, and the weight and texture in hand is close enough to ceramic that the transition from breakable to unbreakable dinnerware feels like an upgrade rather than a compromise. For households with children, outdoor dining, rental kitchens where replacing broken items is expensive, and anyone who has dropped one too many plates onto a tile floor, this is the dinnerware decision that permanently removes one category of household breakage. Number 8 is the Ganiza Immersion Blender Handheld. A full-size blender for soups, sauces, and purees requires transferring hot liquid from a pot into a blender, processing in batches to avoid overflow, and cleaning a full blender jar after every use. And an immersion blender at $100 that outperforms most countertop blenders eliminates all 3 steps by blending directly in the pot, handling a full batch at once, and cleaning with a 30-second rinse under the tap. This handheld immersion blender with a 1,000-watt motor handles everything from smooth soups and creamy sauces to chunky salsas and whipped cream without straining, stalling, or leaving unprocessed texture that requires a second pass with a more powerful machine. The variable speed control gives you precise texture management from a coarse chop to a completely smooth puree without switching attachments or tools. The turbo function delivers a short burst of maximum power for particularly dense or fibrous ingredients, and the detachable shaft is dishwasher safe for cleanup that adds nothing meaningful to the post-cooking routine. Number 9 is the Gemfino Food Mill Hand Crank. A food mill is the kitchen tool that most modern cooks have never owned, but immediately recognize as irreplaceable the first time they use it, because it does something that a blender and food processor cannot, which is separate skin, seeds, and fibrous material from the cooked fruit or vegetable flesh while simultaneously pureeing the edible portion into a smooth, uniform consistency that requires no straining afterward. As another kitchen essential for air fryer owners, this hand-crank food mill handles tomatoes for sauce, cooked fruits for jam, boiled potatoes for a lump-free mash, and any other produce that benefits from a skin and seed-free puree, completely manually, with no electricity, no cleanup beyond rinsing the disc and bowl, and no blending action that incorporates air and changes the texture of delicate preparations the way a machine always does. The interchangeable disc system lets you choose fine, medium, or coarse output depending on the recipe. The sturdy construction handles the mechanical load of pressing produce through a disc without bending or wearing out, and the compact size stores without demanding the cabinet space that electric appliances require. For home canners, sauce makers, and anyone serious about Italian cooking, this is the tool that has no adequate substitute. Number 10 is the Golden Prairie Crepe Maker. Crepes have a reputation for being technically demanding that is entirely undeserved. Once you have the right equipment, the batter is simple, the technique takes one practice run, and the results are the kind of thing that turns a regular weekend morning into something that feels genuinely special. At $27, this electric crepe maker delivers a flat, evenly heated, non-stick surface that produces thin, perfectly cooked crepes in under 2 minutes per batch without the hotspot issues that make crepe making on a standard pan inconsistent and frustrating. The compact design takes up minimal counter space, the temperature reaches and holds the ideal crepe cooking range without requiring adjustment between batches, and the non-stick surface releases each crepe cleanly without tearing even during the early runs before you've fully developed the wrist motion. The included batter spreader and spatula are designed specifically for this surface, so they work correctly rather than requiring substitutes from your utensil drawer. Sweet or savory, breakfast or dessert, this is the gadget that adds a genuinely impressive dish to your cooking repertoire for less than the price of brunch out. Number 11 is the Cutluxe brisket knife. Slicing a large piece of smoked or roasted meat with a standard kitchen knife is an exercise in compression, tearing, and uneven slices that never quite look the way the recipe photos do, and a proper long-bladed slicing knife at $33 eliminates that entirely with a blade length specifically calibrated to cut through a full brisket, a leg of lamb, or a large roast in one smooth pulling motion that produces clean, even slices without sawing or pressure. The high-carbon stainless steel blade holds a keen edge through significantly more use than standard kitchen knife steel. The full-tang construction means the blade runs the entire length of the handle for the balance and leverage that long slices require, and the Granton edge, the oval hollows along the blade, reduces the suction between the blade and the meat surface, so each slice releases cleanly rather than tearing. The ergonomic Pakawood handle is as comfortable on slice 50 as it is on slice 1, and the edge comes sharp enough from the factory that no sharpening is required before first use. Number 12 is the RAVS Butane Torch Lighter. Culinary torches that look impressive and underperform are a well-established kitchen disappointment. The flame is too small, the gas runs out mid-task, the ignition fails when the tank is anything less than full, and the whole experience makes the home cook feel less like a professional and more like someone whose equipment isn't cooperating. At $29, this butane torch lighter delivers a powerful adjustable flame that reaches the temperatures required for properly bruleeing a creme, searing a crust on sous vide meat, melting cheese on a burger, caramelizing onions on a finished dish, or toasting a meringue to the golden finish that an oven broiler never achieves consistently. The continuous flame lock means you're not holding the trigger through an extended torch application, the adjustable nozzle controls flame intensity for different tasks, and the refillable butane design means this torch stays in your kitchen indefinitely rather than being replaced when the factory fill runs out. For home cooks who want the finishing techniques of professional kitchens without the professional equipment budget, this torch is the single most affordable gateway to that quality, and it delivers completely. Number 13 is the Hdrriozu over-the-sink dish drainer. Counter space beside the sink disappears faster than anywhere else in the kitchen. The drying rack takes up half of it, the clean dishes waiting to be put away take the other half, and the actual preparation surface you need while cooking is nowhere. At $90, this over-the-sink dish drainer bridges the entire sink width and sits above rather than beside it, freeing the counter completely while providing a generous drying area for dishes, glasses, cookware, and utensils that drain directly into the sink below without a tray that fills with water and needs emptying. The stainless steel construction handles the moisture environment directly above a sink without rust developing at the joints. The adjustable design fits different sink widths without modification, and the multiple tier and hook options accommodate different kitchen setups and different drying priorities. For small kitchens where the counter beside the sink is valuable cooking space that a standard dish rack makes inaccessible during and after every meal, this is the organizational upgrade that gives that counter back permanently, and once it's installed, the idea of going back to a counter-mounted rack feels absurd. Number 14 is the Etekcity Food Kitchen Scale. Guessing at ingredient quantities is the single most consistent source of recipe failure that most home cooks never fully attribute to the actual cause. A tablespoon measured by eye is not the same as a tablespoon measured properly, and in baking that difference determines whether the result is what the recipe promised or something adjacent to it. At $25, this digital kitchen scale measures in grams, ounces, milliliters, and pounds with a precision of 0.1 gram, accurate enough for espresso dosing, baking, portioning supplements, and any other application where the margin of error genuinely matters. The tare function zeroes out the weight of any container so you measure only the ingredient. The large flat platform accommodates bowls, pans, and any other container you want to measure directly into without balancing it on a small surface. And the clean display is readable from the angle you're standing at while cooking, rather than requiring you to bend over the scale to see the number. Cooking by weight is simply more accurate than cooking by volume, and this scale is the reason to finally make that switch. Number 15 is the Typhur Sink Oven. Countertop ovens that genuinely replace a full-size oven rather than supplement it are rare, and at $300, this smart countertop oven with integrated temperature probing, air frying, convection baking, grilling, and dehydrating functions is the most capable countertop cooking appliance on this list. Roasting vegetables took half the time compared to a standard oven, and multiple cooking functions could run simultaneously on different racks, making the time efficiency alone significant enough to change how everyday cooking is planned and executed. The integrated meat probe cooks proteins to precise internal temperature rather than a set time, preventing overcooking without any monitoring required. And the crumb catch tray at the base makes cleanup straightforward, rather than the interior scrubbing session that most oven cleaning involves. Reviewers noted wondering if they needed their full oven anymore after a few weeks of use, which is the most compelling real-world endorsement a countertop appliance can receive. Number 16 is the Hovico Silicone Oven Mitts. Silicone oven mitts, at $8 that outperform fabric mitts costing 3 times more, are exactly the kind of Amazon find that makes the most sense only after you've burned your hand through a thick fabric mitt that should have protected you. This silicone construction provides genuine heat protection to temperatures that fabric starts conducting at the surface, doesn't absorb heat and transfer it to your skin through the contact time of pulling a hot pan from an oven, the way cotton and quilted alternatives always do. The textured grip surface holds wet, slippery pans and baking sheets securely even when the surface is oily or steaming. The waterproof material means they're genuinely washable rather than the questionably hygienic fabric mitts that absorb everything they contact, and the flexibility of silicone lets you grip and maneuver confidently rather than the clumsy, imprecise handling of a stiff fabric mitt that makes precise oven work feel hazardous. Number 17 is the Mueller Pro Series Chopper. Chopping onions, peppers, tomatoes, and herbs by hand is one of the most time-consuming parts of any cooking routine, and a manual food chopper at $22 that does all of it in seconds with a pull cord mechanism is the upgrade that makes the 10-minute prep phase of any weeknight dinner into something you're done with before the pan is fully heated. The sharp stainless steel blades process any produce from coarse chunks to fine mince, depending on how many pulls you give it. Complete control over the output texture without any electrical setup, any blender jar to fill, or any decision about which speed setting to use. The compact container catches everything that comes off the blades, so there's no spreading across a cutting board, no pieces flying across the counter, and nothing to transfer to a bowl before adding to the pan. Cleanup is one piece in the dishwasher. For anyone who cooks regularly and wants to spend more time eating and less time prepping, this chopper is the most immediately practical purchase on this list. Number 18 is the Cooker King Non-Toxic Frying Pan. Non-toxic cookware is a category that has expanded significantly as awareness of PFAS chemicals in traditional non-stick coatings has grown. This ceramic-coated frying pan delivers the non-stick performance that makes cooking and cleaning easy without the chemical coating concerns that have made Teflon increasingly difficult to justify in a health-conscious kitchen. The ceramic coating releases eggs, fish, and delicate proteins as cleanly as traditional nonstick without any PFAS, PFOA, lead, or cadmium in the coating composition. The heat distribution across the base is even enough to prevent the hotspot cooking that cheap pans always produce, and the construction is oven-safe to temperatures that ceramic nonstick alternatives often cannot handle. The coating durability exceeds what most ceramic pans in this price range offer when maintained correctly. No metal utensils, hand washing preferred, and the clean, modern exterior looks intentional on a stovetop rather than utilitarian. At $66 for a pan that cooks everything well and contains nothing questionable, the value proposition is straightforward. Your cookware shouldn't require a health disclaimer. Number 19 is the anti-fatigue kitchen mats. Standing on a hard kitchen floor for 45 minutes while cooking a proper meal is a form of physical discomfort so normalized that most people stop noticing it until the next morning, when their lower back and feet remind them. At $45, these anti-fatigue kitchen mats address that directly with a thick, cushioned foam construction that absorbs the impact of standing on hard flooring and reduces the muscular fatigue that comes from the body's constant micro-adjustments to maintain balance on an unyielding surface. The beveled edges prevent tripping and keep the mat flat against the floor rather than curling at the edges and creating the hazard that cheap kitchen mats always develop after a few weeks. The non-slip backing stays planted on any floor type, regardless of moisture or cooking spills, and the surface cleans easily from the oil, food debris, and water that kitchen floors accumulate constantly. Number 20 is the TUUMIIST 3-in-1 Cold Press Juicer. Fresh juice from a cold press masticating juicer and fresh juice from a centrifugal juicer are not the same product. The centrifugal process generates heat that degrades enzymes and nutrients before the liquid even reaches the glass, produces more foam and oxidation, and extracts significantly less yield from the same amount of produce. At $180, this 3-in-1 cold press juicer uses a slow pressing mechanism that mimics hand squeezing to deliver up to 95% juice yield with bone-dry pulp output, extracts vital enzymes with minimal heat and oxidation, and handles juice, nut milk, and sorbet through 3 interchangeable strainer settings controlled by a smart touchscreen interface. The 6.5-inch wide chute accommodates whole fruits and vegetables, so pre-cutting most produce is unnecessary. The 3-part assembly rinses clean in under 3 minutes, and the whisper-quiet motor under 60 decibels means morning juicing doesn't wake anyone in the house. Juice that tastes richer, retains more nutrition, and stays fresh longer. That's the cold press difference. Number 21 is the NumNum Pre-Spoon GOOtensils. Teaching a baby to self-feed is one of the most food-covered, mess-generating developmental stages of early parenthood, and the design of the utensil makes a significant difference in how quickly and successfully that process goes. At $30, these pre-spoon training utensils are designed specifically for the pre-spoon developmental stage, where babies want to self-feed before they have the motor control to scoop from a bowl without spilling everything. The curved, textured GOO catching design lets babies dip and self-feed without requiring the precise scooping motion that a standard spoon demands, meeting the baby at the developmental stage they're actually at, rather than the one that makes cleanup easier for parents. The BPA-free, dishwasher-safe construction handles the sterilization that baby utensils require. The soft, flexible tips are safe for emerging teeth and sensitive gum tissue, and the set comes in stages, so the transition from early self-feeding to proper spoon use is supported through the entire developmental arc. Independence at the table starts earlier than most parents expect, and this is the utensil that makes it actually work. Number 22 is the Dash Rapid Egg Cooker. 6 eggs perfectly cooked to any doneness level: hard-boiled, medium-boiled, soft-boiled, or poached, in under 15 minutes with 0 monitoring, 0 timing anxiety, and 0 peeling difficulty, because eggs cooked this way peel far more cleanly than any stovetop method. As another kitchen essential for air fryer owners, at $15, this rapid egg cooker is the most straightforward gadget on this list. You fill the measuring cup to the water line for your chosen doneness level, place the eggs, press the button, and an audible alert tells you when they're done. The omelet tray and poaching tray included in the set expand the function beyond boiled eggs to a complete egg preparation appliance that handles the majority of egg cooking methods most people use regularly. The compact footprint takes up less counter space than a small bowl. The BPA-free construction handles the steam environment of repeated daily use without degrading, and the results are more consistent than stovetop timing, in a way that quickly makes the egg cooker the method you default to without thinking. Number 23 is the Tofuture Tofu Press. Store-bought tofu comes pressed to a standard water content that is never the right water content for the specific preparation you're making. Stir-fry needs drier tofu than soup, grilled tofu needs to be drier still, and achieving any of those textures without a proper press involves hours of the paper towel and heavy object method that never extracts enough moisture evenly or efficiently. For $24, this tofu press uses a spring tension pressing mechanism that applies consistent, even pressure across the entire tofu block and extracts significantly more moisture in 30 minutes than several hours of improvised pressing ever manages. The adjustable tension lets you control how firm the final texture is. The collection tray catches all expressed water without the soggy paper towels and tilting cutting boards that the standard method always produces, and the dishwasher-safe construction makes cleanup completely effortless after every use. For anyone who cooks with tofu more than occasionally, this press transforms what tofu is capable of in your kitchen, and once you cook with properly pressed tofu, you'll understand immediately why the press exists. Number 24 is the KitchenAid Meat Tenderizer. Meat tenderizing is a step that most home cooks skip, not because they think it's unnecessary, but because the process beating a cut with a mallet and dealing with the mess and noise that creates feels disproportionate to the improvement in texture that most recipes don't make obvious enough to justify the effort. This dual-sided meat tenderizer, from a brand that has been making professional-grade kitchen tools for decades, solves the effort side of that equation, with a textured mallet surface on one side for breaking down tough muscle fibers and a flat surface on the other for achieving even thickness that ensures uniform cooking across the entire cut. The weighted construction does the work rather than the force of the swing, which means less physical effort for the same tenderizing result, less countertop impact noise, and less arm fatigue during larger pieces or multiple servings. The comfortable grip handle is designed for controlled, precise strikes rather than the awkward handling that a poorly balanced mallet always produces, and the stainless steel construction is fully dishwasher safe for cleanup that matches the effort the tool saves. Tougher cuts, better results, less effort, that's the sum of what this tool delivers on every use. Number 25 is the Bonson Kitchen Vacuum Sealer Machine. Vacuum sealing extends the practical freshness life of almost every food you store. Meat stays freezer burn free for months instead of weeks. Cheese stays fresh instead of drying out in 3 days. Marinating time reduces from hours to minutes because the vacuum draws flavor into the protein significantly faster than atmospheric pressure allows. This vacuum sealer machine delivers that functionality at a price point that makes it accessible as a regular kitchen tool rather than a specialty appliance you only pull out for large batch cooking sessions. The automatic sealing mode detects the bag and initiates the vacuum and seal process with a single button press. The compact vertical design stores in a drawer rather than demanding permanent counter real estate, and the compatible bags are widely available, so ongoing supply costs stay manageable. The dry and moist food modes handle different food types correctly, preventing moisture from interfering with the seal on wet foods while maximizing vacuum pressure on dry ones. Food waste is expensive. A vacuum sealer at $34 that extends freshness across everything in your kitchen pays for itself the first month you use it consistently and keeps paying after that.